Hey guys, welcome to episode 8 of Talking Trikes. We're going to bring you some awesome chats tonight. It's me and Darcy again. Darcy, what's been happening this week?
Not much again. It's getting a bit like that where it's just not much every single time. But on the personal front, I think we both have got new bikes. So what bike have you got now, Carl?
I haven't retired my old bike. It's been retired to the trainer. But I went out and bought a nice Ridley Helium SL. It's a nice retro bike, carbon wheels. It is secondhand, but I knew the guy I was buying it off and got an awesome deal. So haven't actually ridden it properly yet. So keen to get out there. But what about you, mate? I see on Instagram you got a new bike as well.
Yeah, so I got a nice carbon mountain bike XC racer, a Scott Spark RC 900. Oh my God. It dropped almost 4 kilograms from the last bike I had.
Yeah.
And yeah, so much fun. It is so good. I rode it today and it just, it's so good.
Well, on that note, mate, we've got the same mountain bike because I've got one in the garage as well. Exactly the same, except I think yours is a little bit bigger than my frame. But one day, hopefully we'll be able to unite them together and go for a spin. So
Team
awesome.
ARN, getting it done.
Yeah. Although last time I rode mine, I binned it and cracked a rib. So yeah, we'll see. Got to get over that fear. All right. So tonight, who have we got on the show, Darcy?
So we've got a pretty big name in pedal pre and HPV racing history. His team has been one of the most successful teams, basically, the event's ever had. And it's one of the most recognizable names and race vehicles. So tonight we have Aaron Stewart joining us. He was the manager, rider, racer for Aurora Racing. And we're going to get some pretty cool insights on his story and journey through the sport. So we're going to welcome him to the show. Okay, everyone, this is Aaron from Aurora Racing. How are you doing, Aaron?
G'day, fellas. Good, thanks. Yourselves?
Yeah, we're doing all right. So just to get started, man, we'd just love a quick introduction of yourself and basically how you got into the sport and your avenues to the future.
Well, I first started, I'm Aaron Stewart, of course. I started Aurora back almost 10 years ago. I probably got me foot in the door with primary school. Everyone in Maryborough did Energy Breakthrough. It was just a rite of passage, I suppose, for any Maryborough kid that was into sport. You just did it. And just do it through high school. And like everyone, you get into the sport and then you try and find a community team. And was lucky enough to get a run with expats for a fair stint and learned a fair bit about trike building through James McNamee and Untitled Chapter Jones and Tim Jones, and figured we may as well have a crack ourselves. And that's how Aurora sort of started.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. So we talked about Aurora before and plenty of people know who you are, but what was the real driving force behind starting Aurora, and what were your real goals when you begun and as you moved through the sport, mate?
Look, to start out with, honestly, I don't think we put a team together to win straight away. It was just there were a lot of young guys, and we wanted to. I want to say it nicely. We wanted to finish races with a trike the way it started.
Yeah.
So our first trike we built was probably over-engineered and heavy. So we just wanted to make sure it'd go the distance. And there was most of our team was pretty damn young, honestly. In that first 12 months, they were all still in high school, apart from probably maybe myself and a couple others. So we were just there to compete. I think our first Murray Bridge, we went in with the expectation of top. I think we were going for a top 3 or 4, and to come second by a lap was a pretty big shock because Blue Shift, I think, were the pretty big favourites of that race, and they bombed out.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Might I add something in there? I remember. I actually remember the moment that expats wanted to call Azza up because we were racing at Wonthaggi and me and Azza were racing in a team, and I can't actually recall what happened, but we were riding through the night, and something happened. Something went wrong with the truck. I don't know if the light went out, and I came in the pits. Aaron, you might remember, but I just decided to park it, and Aaron eventually came back to the truck, and he thought, "What's going on? Like, why is it sitting there?" Anyway, so he hopped in, and yeah,
I don't think there was anyone in the pits. I think someone decided it might have been you, decided to park it, and I woke up at about 6 a.m. No one in the pits, parked the truck's just sitting there.
But I do remember.
Well, I guess I may as well keep riding the thing. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, I do remember, Aaron, you were riding the bike and you came in the pits ready to change over, and no one was even there. So you got out and got something to eat and just got back in, and the guys at Expats thought, well, this guy's got a bit to go. So got your foot in the door there, and the rest is history, eh? So yeah, those are the days. Back in those days, Darcy, we didn't we didn't have a team that had trained a great deal, so it was different type of racing back then. But yeah, it was very fun.
Always that one or two guys in the team, and then there was little not as big a breaks, I don't think, back then. Short and you're back in again.
Yeah, that's right. So it was a really cool time, and Aaron's really the main reason why I got more heavily involved into the sport, because I got a pathway in with Aurora, and I spent what was the first year I rode? It was like 2000, I don't know, 10, 2009?
11.
2011.
With Aurora, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember
so it's 10 years next year.
Yeah, and we really just got together, and it was great. Like, I got in the team, and back then it was just, racing was so raw and fresh, and probably I remember our first big victory at Casey Fields. We thought it was the biggest thing in the world. Yeah. We came back from Maryborough and we went to the pub, and we just we weren't mentioning
those were the days.
How much we trained. But it was just so fun, and it was really good times. And Aaron, credit to him, has built an amazing amount of fantastic trikes. I don't think I ever stepped into a bike that wasn't super fast, even back then in the days. And to come second by a lap to a trike that was very advanced, being Phantom, I think had we had a little bit more advancement with our shell, we would have
definitely. And even just the frame. In all honesty, that first bike, we took a massive step forward just going to the green bike the year after, and that was all just purely in the frame because it was still the same fairing. So,
had the earmuffs.
Yes.
Earmuffs? What do you mean earmuffs?
Have a look at this photo here and this photo here. I'm sure we'll get some up. Aaron can explain a bit about that.
Well, back in the day, it was all about. Well, in our heads, it was all about getting the wheels enclosed, and we had a canopy that didn't allow for that to happen. So we had to. We were still like new to building, sort of like the elite level of building, I suppose you'd say. So the whole aim was just, we just got to get these wheels enclosed however we can do it. So we just made one mold that would do both sides of the trike, rather than later on the next set of earmuffs, as you call them. We did two different sets, so they weren't they weren't reversible. You had to use one on one side and one on the other side.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, I thought you were talking about real earmuffs there for a second.
Nah. just about getting the wheels enclosed. That's what it was all about.
What we called them. Yeah. Yeah. No, it was a good time. So, Aaron, why do you think that like the trikes that you made were always so consistently quick? Like, what do you think? For anyone watching, maybe some tips or little bits of advice.
We had pretty good foundation to start out with when we first built our first one. I had my knowledge of Expats and James McNamee, and we had some of his bikes, and Kyle Tad as well. I've ridden with him, and I'd bought a bike off him to train in. And we were lucky enough that we were able to look at a BYR bike as well. Michael Mateague owned one of those, and we pretty much looked at all the geometry of all 3 of them and just sort of went. We ended up going between an expat and a speedy trike. The BYR trikes were really, the wheelbases were really short. So we pretty much chose where we wanted to start out with between a speedy trike and an expat's trike, and all we did pretty much, you get your base for what you want with your frame, and just don't change the world up from trike to trike. We just change one thing every time. So every new bike, pretty much we changed one thing. So if it didn't work, you knew it was that one thing that didn't work, rather than let's change 5 things. And if one thing doesn't work, you don't know what that one thing is, sort of thing. So,
yeah. No, spot on. Do you, out of the trikes that you have built and ridden and raced, what would be your favourite, if you can remember any of them?
Of my own, or just any trike?
Yeah, just any trike. How do they might stack up against your own?
Look, of my own, it'd definitely be the 2016 bike. But I tell you what, I was lucky enough to race in what was called at the time Warhorse, which was, I think it was called S-Chair for Phantom when it was built. And that thing, geez, that was comfortable. That was probably the most comfortable trike I've ever been in.
Yeah. So speaking of that 2016 victory and that vehicle, how did you get into the HP fairing game and get that brand new design from that original design you had?
So that's a very good question. I don't think I can actually remember how I got on to Tommy about that one. Tom Bastion was a core builder of that fairing, him and the HP boys. I think I rode with them the year before, because we'd essentially decided to pack it up in 2013 and still got an invitation to ride with him, and I rode with him. And I think they were just telling me that they were building it, and a few of the boys were keen to have a crack at doing a carbon bike. And pretty much, as Kyle said, the thing that was letting us down was the canopy, and I didn't really want to go into a shape that someone else had already had a lot of success with, sort of thing. So it was sort of, even though it's not our shape, it was sort of, we could have some ownership of it. We still had access to the mold, so we still built everything ourselves, apart from the actual mold itself. So we still built our fairing ourselves, our frame ourselves, and put it all together. So yeah, I think I was just lucky enough that I was in the right place at the right time with Tom and had a ride with him and got to know him.
Yeah. It's one of the most iconic shapes, I think, in the sport, because you have like all of those manufacturers with their shapes, but the one that keeps popping up as one of the favorites is the Aurora and the HP design. So how did it feel being in there? Because I've never got to ride one. I really want to ride one, but I never got to. But how did it feel riding in terms of its rideability?
So there's actually 2 molds, which I'm not sure if a lot of people know. The original, the 2015 one we raced with, that one was tight. That one's probably not ideal. But the 16 is just perfect. Everything's just right as far as I'm concerned. Unless you're a super tall rider, we might have some knee clearance issues, but none of us are like 6'7". So I think our tallest would be Ned. Would you say that ever rode with us, Kyle?
Yeah. But he does have he kind of does have a tendency to kind of crawl up in a ball and fit in anything, that man. But yeah, I agree. The 2016 bike was a lot more spacious. Although I'm a shorter rider, the way I rode with my seat, I would be more propped upright, and I still had plenty of room. I used to ride, and my head would be pushed up against the top of the lid. Not that we're talking rules here, but it was a lot more spacious. And I remember we re-raced that at the end of 2018.
Yeah.
At the Casey. Yeah, and I remember you just said about going for a bit of fun and getting a few of the guys together, and I remember stepping back into it, and I'd been riding a Trump, so very different. And then we raced at the Casey Fields, and man, this thing is quick. So
I was I was actually there for that race. It was nuts. It was really nuts. Although everyone was just getting flat tires left, right, and center, it was just so fast.
Yeah. I remember it because the Trump kind of with the steering, I don't know, the setup is a lot different, but I got in the Aaron in the first lap. I was going around some of the corners at Casey thinking, I'm going to roll this thing. But no, it was super quick bike. Where did that end up now? Like you sold that bike, didn't you?
Yeah, that's down at Geelong North now. So they race that at Energy Breakthrough, and I think they only do one faggy in Energy Breakthrough on their race calendars. So yeah.
No, sounds good. All right. So let's talk a little bit about what was evolving into this season that was meant to be. Now, we have released that you were going to come back this year. So kind of where did that come from, and talk a little bit about why the return to racing and kind of where you wanted to go with it.
Well, it's sort of no getting away from the sport, to be honest. You sort of take a step back, and it's sort of like what Nigel said with your interview a couple of weeks ago. I've tried to do other sports as well, and it's just not quite the same. Like you just don't get the mateship and the team sort of drive that you get from trike racing. So the main comeback was, I guess, Jeff from Trikes pulled me back in. He gave me the call up, do you want to have a race? And I stepped in and I'm like, we can develop this thing a lot more. So I helped him with a little bit of development with his chassis, and started racing did a full year last year with him in the Murray Bridge before that. And then pretty much I was racing, Henry was racing, pretty much a lot of the boys are still doing races here or there. So I was like, well, geez, we're all racing for different teams. Why don't we just all race under the same team again and come back? So that's where that sort of came from.
Yeah, Darcy, I can confirm that I was going to be going and racing with Aurora this year, and we did have a red hot team, and I didn't get a chance to ride the bike, obviously, but from all accounts, I spoke to, in our group chat, we looked at what was put down by one of our riders, Aaron Stewart, where is the test track at that you were riding it at? Is that
it's just in industrial estate, in Ballarat.
Yeah, and he absolutely was flying by all accounts. What happened that day, Aaron? Can you fill us in?
It was pretty funny actually, because it was the first ride we'd had in it, and I was I ride every bike first, and I thought I was reasonably sort of fit, but I had the flu for about a week, so I got into it and I rode for about 15 minutes and I pretty much blew up, and I got out and Lockie's like, "Oh, how is it?" And I said to him, honestly, I thought it was pretty average. But I said, you never tell your rider that the Trike's average. I just said, "Oh, look, it's probably as good as any other bike. It's no better, it's no worse." And he jumped in and he, I think he rode for about an hour and 20 minutes, averaging 55k an hour. And he got out and he said, "Oh, it's a bit better than average, mate."
Yeah, I remember I was up here, obviously where I live in Brisbane, and I was just sitting by my phone, like wanting to hear updates, because we were gunning for one thaggy, and I thought, please be a nice fast trike. And I knew Aaron always built a fantastic trike, but all of a sudden Lockie gets out and he writes a message to the team and he says, "Boys, this is the best trike yet by far." And then sends
Holy Grail.
Yeah, he's I think he took an equal fastest lap and nearly broke the EV record for 15 laps or something there.
Yeah, 15 lap TT. I think he was off it by 4 seconds or 10 seconds or something like that. So
yeah, electric. He is a fantastic rider, but obviously the trike was meant to be. So yeah, that sounds it was disappointing, Darcy. We were really gunning, and I was like looking forward, like what we were just talking about, just catching up with mates. So it was very disappointing. The kind of 1 week out from the race, hearing she's gone, and so hopefully next year we might be able to ride the bike and get a feel of things. So we'll see what happens, but I'm sure it's going to sit there and just collect dust for a little bit. Hey.
Yeah, well, I still haven't finished it, to be honest.
That's
I sort of.
that's good.
It's all rideable. It'd be done in about 6 hours or 5 hours. I'm talking about fine tuning things and putting windows on and horns in and stuff like that.
Okay.
Done its test session and passed that. So sort of concentrated, wanted to start training a bit more, and then races started to get cancelled. So it all just turned pear-shaped quickly.
Yeah, was there plans to do the full series, or was it just going to be the one-off in Wonthaggi?
No, we were entered for the full series, so we're going to do the 2 Adelaides and the Murray Bridge as well. So we'd paid up and entered for that. So it's going to be a full season. What we call a full season anyway. We don't really do all the 6 hours.
It's a shake-up.
Yeah.
All right,
it would have been good to see how we stacked up.
Yeah, that would have been really cool to see, actually. We've been so used to seeing same 2 teams at just 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 2 and 1. It would have been really cool to see it come back. Just like I can remember 2016 vaguely, and it's just the shake-up between so many different teams fighting for the top spot was just so cool.
We were coming. We were definitely coming. I can tell you that. All the boys were keen. We'd done a little bit of recruitment, but
everyone was fired up.
Yeah, I reckon it would have been.
It would have been a solid team.
Yeah, I can't recall ever being probably more excited about the lineup in a team before. So we'll see what happens in 2021, and hopefully we can get back on the track. And maybe Darcy, you might get to ride one of these bikes. Maybe
it's a dream. It's a dream. It's a dream. I see. Who's it? Murray Bridge High School have one, and I just watch it go around like, I want to ride the real deal. Not that.
That's the old HP from 2016 or 15 as well. Yeah.
I just want to ride one. One day, hopefully one day.
That's a fast bike. I rode that at Loxton. That thing moves.
All right. All I want to touch on now, just so the viewers can hear, the style of racing that Aurora did. I remember when we were racing, we didn't really particularly know other riders and other teams. We knew our main competition, which was True Blue for a few years, but we didn't kind of have the association with so many different riders and teams. But Aaron, can you fill us in on maybe a couple of, any big or funny stories that you can recall from back in those days when we were racing? Does anything come to mind at all?
Funny stories?
Yep.
Geez, it's hard that it's so much that's happened over so long. Look, the Ranger story, which you already covered, of course, with the spaghetti, that's pretty funny. Like, sorry to say, I'm not going to know who's allergic to what. So that's pretty funny. I don't know. We're always pretty serious. It was always sort of business on business day. It was business time, but there's always been a lot of. I would have to say that we celebrate a second place better than anyone else does. There's been a few good stories that probably can't be told about the after race sort of celebrations or. Yeah. We'll
keep that for closed doors. But well, what about the tense moments? What do you think would be your most tense or nervous moment? In a race or in training or anything? Because I have a story. But
look, the most tense one was probably honestly 2015. Like everyone else would have probably said that we had it in the bag because I think we're 10 to 15 laps up and on the long track as well. But coming from myself who's built the bike, we've trained so hard, that would have been the 4th Murray Bridge as Aurora, just wanting to knock that win off at that track. And a few of the boys sort of said, just calm down. And I said, I'll calm down when we get the checkered flag and it's all over, because you just wanted to get it done.
Yeah.
Like just had to get that win at Murray Bridge at all costs. And yeah, it just didn't feel safe until that flag dropped.
Yeah. No, it's that's spot on. My I think the best moments that I used to love the training. I used to love just the boys getting around each other on weekends. You know, we'd all meet up. We'd see who'd actually turn up on time, and we'd go down the track. And we used to all have a training frame, and we'd literally have, you know, probably 6, 7, or 8 training frames. We've probably got a photo here. Aaron sent one the other day of a trike called Wilkins, which I think he said it's done about 100,000 kilometres, mainly by someone called Ned Volk. But basically what we do is we go down the track and we just do one person. It'd be like a big train, and the person on the front would just be absolutely smoking it for a lap, and then they'd peel off, and then you get back on the back. Now, the hardest thing was, I can't remember who had the bike, but one of them didn't have brakes, I recall. So if anyone can remember the Maryborough track, when you're coming up past what is Aldi now, you used to go up straight and then you turn left onto what was can be a fairly busy road. So we'd be flying up this straight to turn left, and I don't know if it was me or I don't know who had the bike without brakes, but if you had to brake, you were done. You'd have to just unclip and chuck your feet on the ground. These are just chassis, not a full bike. And it was hilarious. And we used to play a training game where whoever lasted the longest in the swap off. So you do a lap and then you jump on the back. Now, not all the trikes were the same, and it was always
there was a big difference between. There was at least one that was rotten.
Yeah. And it was like whoever turned up to the shed first that got to pick their bike, you know, was, you know, better off. But it was some funny training stories, I can tell you that. And the other thing I do remember is getting the race bike ready. I understand now that a lot of manufacturers will do a lot more testing of their race-ready bike, but the way that Aaron went about things is he'd build the chassis, he'd get some testing, it'd go in the canopy, and it would get maybe a few laps around Maryborough. And I remember how tense Aaron used to be.
At least an hour.
At least an hour. An hour of testing, race ready, and that was it. And then it'd be on the grid. But in this little bit of testing, full ready, if anyone can actually recall the Maryborough track, there are a few corners that are pretty hairy. And we'd go there and we would test the bike out basically at race pace with traffic on the road. So you'd be coming into a corner thinking, I'm doing probably 55, 60K an hour here. I hope there's not a car coming the other way. And Aaron's standing at one of the corners just saying, come on, boys, let's wrap it up. I want to take this on. So there were some pretty fun times there. So I was looking forward to getting back in the trike this year with Aurora, but we will just have to wait and see what happens in the future.
It's probably part of the reason we're so successful, honestly, when in those early days that we were lucky enough that probably at least 6 of the riders all lived in the one town, like a small town in Maryborough. We all lived together. We could all train. If we really wanted to, we could train 3 days, 4 days a week together. And we had the luxury of having the frames to train in, which I don't think a lot of people or teams or schools have.
All right, we are going to move on to some quick fire questions. Darcy, how are you looking? You got one to start us off?
I've got a couple. All right, Aaron. So what was the best race you've ever had from memory?
Personally or the team?
Personally, we'll say for this one.
So my best performance I think I ever had was probably with HP at Loxton. I think it was one of the rare moments I probably was quickest on the track for at least half my stint. Unfortunately, being a trike builder, there's a bit of a curse that comes with it, that the time that you spent in the shed building a bike is the time that you're not on a bike. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so what about other riders, or what would be the most impressive stint or performance you've seen, not necessarily from your own team, but, you know, something that you've seen in a race before?
Look, there's a lot of people that I've seen. I've been lucky enough to see a lot of good stints, but I suppose the ones you always remember the most are the people that have taken time out of you. And I don't think there's been anyone that's taken more time out of a team I've been a part of more than the man of steel, Von Hoff. Geez, every time he got into a trike, we just said to ourselves, how many laps are we going to lose?
Yeah. I think one thing we haven't really mentioned on the show was, how scary it was to race True Blue, and when they got the three big guys with Paul Weymouth, Wade Edwards, and Reece Bartlett. Reece is still racing today and still flying around, but yeah, when you got those three and you know that you're going to be in the bike when they're riding, it's like, please don't take much time out of me.
The other one was definitely Lockie Stewart at 2012 Sunday morning, and he got us back in that position of possibly winning. Well, it was never really going to happen, but I think he broke the quickest lap of the race like 10 times in his fifth stint.
Wow.
Of a 24-hour race. It was unbelievable to watch.
Yeah.
It was just crazy.
Yeah. We had a few comments on I can't remember what post it was, and the guy wrote Ben O'Connell being the GOAT, and I said there's only one GOAT in this sport.
Yeah.
So we'll have to get Lockie on the show one time, Darcy, and have a chat to him. But in my eyes, he's been someone that I've raced a lot with, and whether he's fit or he's unfit or he hasn't even touched the bike, he's going to be fast.
Yeah. I remember I pulled him aside before that last stint that year, and I'm normally pretty like reserved. You build a trike, you get attached to it, so you always say to the boys, you better look after that thing. And I think we were 2 or 3 laps down, and I just said to him, mate, I don't care what you do. If you got to go through that gap, you go through that gap. I want to win this.
Yeah. I remember one lap.
I think the language was a bit more colourful though.
Yeah, I don't know what race it was, but sorry, we'll move on soon. But I just want to mention I remember a stint he did. He rolled the trike, and there's actually footage of it. I think we'll have to have a look to see if we can find it. But he rolled the trike, and it wasn't really a roll. He just skidded on his side down the track, and
that was that same stint.
It was, wasn't it? And he got put back up, and we're in the pits, and we didn't even know that he rolled because the lap times weren't really any different. He just got back up and got back into it so quick.
On the old track, he was doing low 220s that whole stint.
Wow.
And he rolled and he did a 243 or something like that. And that was pretty much like what half our team was doing as a normal lap.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, Aaron, what would you say is your favourite track?
I'm a pretty big fan of Casey, to be honest. Like Murray Bridge is the race for me, and I like the old track wasn't probably up there, but Casey, I don't know, apart from the surface, I like the track itself.
No tyres for you.
Yes,
All right.
Take my money.
This next question is kind of turned into tradition, but Aaron, is it a Palmer or a Palmy?
You can't say that.
I don't even know what's a Palmy.
There's a reason you guys are in lockdown.
It's definitely a Palmer over here.
Yeah, I'll agree.
All right, whatever.
Come back to us, Darcy.
I've forgotten what I was going to say now. I'm just so disappointed. All right, Aaron, would you rather start pole position or have the fastest lap of the race?
I'd probably have I'd probably rather have the quickest lap of the race, I think.
Yeah, get that glassware.
All right, Aaron, my last quick fire question. 2020, if it had have gone ahead, do you think Aurora Racing could have won the title at Murray Bridge or not?
I think we would have been right up there, honestly. Look, can't take it away from Waddle, and you never know what Relentless are going to pull out. But we had a pretty strong lineup.
We were
definitely going to be right up there.
Yeah.
All right, I've got one more question, Aaron. What was the best looking trike you've ever seen? It could be yours, could be someone else's, but what's the nicest looking trike?
Straight away that comes to mind, probably two Bendigo bikes. I really like the look of Squirrel at Maryborough. It was like blue, black and white. And that's going back. That's probably that could have been around 2012. And the BYR bike, the newer shape when it went to Murray Bridge, and it had the raw carbon with a bit of paint over it. That looked really nice. I like that one. Yep. I like the raw carbon look on a fairing, because it generally only lasts about one race.
Anyway, Aaron, thanks heaps for coming on tonight. It's been fantastic to speak with you and talk everything Trikes related for you. Darcy, what have we got going on next episode?
I say the same thing every week. More special guests. But massive thank you, Aaron. Some of the stories you shared was so funny. It's ridiculously funny. But it's been good having you. Thanks for coming, man.
No worries. Thanks for having me on, boys.
No worries. So we will see you all for the next episode of Talking Trikes, episode 9. Thanks, guys.
Hey, guys.